all through my addiction, it was like, how many hits can keep coming? Like, how many hits can I take? It's like, I mean, over and over and over and over again.
Hi, my name is Isabel Donnelly, and welcome to The Sober Spill. Today I'm here with Serena Saunders, who is the manager of the Positive Recovery Program out of the SPCA, International Global Animal Rescue. She's a woman in recovery, and she's here to chat with us about her story, as well as the important and super interesting work she does. The more I learn, the more I have questions. So for the people that don't know you, who are you?
I'm Serena. I am a person in long-term recovery. I have about 4.5 years sober. But I am many things. I am a dog lover. I am a surfer. I'm a mother. I am a dog mom, all the things. I am a traveler. And I get to live a very present life now that I'm sober. So,
Are you able to surf in Colorado?
yeah, so I wake surf. So we
Okay.
behind a boat that's specially designed to throw a really big wake that you can surf behind. It's like a never-ending wave, so it's amazing.
No, that's what my fiance does to show off. I'm like, I get it. You have balance and core strength. You're so graceful. Like,
Yeah,
whatever.
surfing is my new addiction for sure. Like it's problematic sometimes how much I love it because I will drop pretty much anything to go surf. So I guess that's better than the alternative. So.
Oh, yeah. That's like I went to an amusement park with my friend and she got off a roller coaster and she looked at me, fear in her eyes. And she's like, I never have to smoke crack again. And I was like, yeah.
Yeah, it's a way better adrenaline rush, and I wake up early and get to go have fun out on the water, and yeah, it's much better.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, for your health too.
Yeah,
So you've been sober since 2021. Is that right?
yeah, I got sober during COVID.
Oh,
Um,
brave.
yeah, well, I was managing a veterinary hospital, and during COVID, things got pretty wild in that industry. And I was not only an alcoholic, but I was working like 10-hour days and then trying to manage a practice on top of it. So we were short staffed and I was teching during the day. And I burnt out. And it was terrible and probably the best thing to ever happen to me in my whole entire life, because it was a good time for me to quit drinking. Everybody else became worse alcoholics during COVID. I decided to quit, but it was really kind of like a good, perfect time for me to stop everything and like reset and get sober and finally get help for my problem. So, yeah.
And as someone who works in a vet practice, do you have a preferred animal pet insurance? I'm a big proponent of pet insurance.
I don't know. I don't. I know nothing about pet insurance, actually.
You got to get on that, girl, for your dog. I saw you've got like 3 dogs now, right?
Yeah, I do have 3 dogs and they do not have pet insurance. And it's so funny that you even said that because I saw an ad for it yesterday and I'm like, I got to get insurance for these guys. Yeah,
Oh, big time. Yeah, it saved me thousands of dollars, genuinely. This is a PSA to anyone that's listening. If you have a pet, get pet insurance.
Yeah, I would recommend it for sure. But I'll get on that.
Yeah. So you started using when you were a teenager because it was something that was in your family, right? Like I saw that you had a chaotic home life and it was a way to escape for you.
Yeah, I often say that I didn't come from a gene pool. I came from a cesspool. I wasn't really set up for success on either side in the addiction department. My dad came from like a big dysfunctional family where most of the siblings had substance use problems. It was a very abusive home. And, my mom, she had sort of a normal childhood, but she got dealt a pretty bad deck of cards with schizophrenia that sort of started manifesting in her late teens, early 20s. And so for her, she dealt with that by turning to methamphetamine use. It was just sort of the easiest thing, I think, and most accessible thing for her to regulate herself. And not a lot of people knew how to handle that kind of thing, especially, her parents. They didn't do the right things, I don't think, to set her up with that, sort of devastating stuff that was going on. And I don't think that she ever got diagnosed with it or anything. So she was sort of living with this terrible thing that got progressively worse. And so meth was her answer. And same on my dad's side. There was a lot of substance use, a lot of that going on. So I found my community and my support and my family through young people that were sort of going through the same thing. And we all started partying together early, like 12, 13. We were already really heavy into partying and drinking, and hard drugs came soon after that, like 14, end of being 14, 15 is when I found cocaine and ecstasy and all that kind of stuff. So, it happened pretty early for me, but I feel like it was more normal for our generation to start pretty early in a lot of things. I look at my daughter now, who's 17, and they're on a whole different level. They're not really there yet. They're not really experimenting in the same ways that our generation was. And so for that, I'm very grateful.
And then obviously addiction's very genetic. Did you have any concern about the schizophrenia? Because that's also very genetic for
Yeah.
yourself. Yeah.
Not for myself. It's sort of been something that I have had in the back of my mind as far as my daughter goes, and just sort of kept an eye on things. She's 17 and, has absolutely no signs of any sort of mental health issues happening. And I sort of, like, energy wise, don't put anything into that.
Yeah.
I don't really acknowledge it. I don't focus on it. But, I'm also prepared. Like,
Totally.
I know what I need to do as a parent if that were to happen. And that's where my mom didn't really get that kind of support that she needed. And she could never be a functioning member of society, and she could never be a mom to me. And she is a source of a lot of my early childhood trauma. And in hindsight, I can look back on that and feel really sorry for the hand that she got dealt. She's still, the last I heard, is homeless and still struggling with methamphetamines and still sort of like, in the vortex of that life. And so it's very sad. It's a life wasted. So yeah, I don't put any energy into it, but I'm, like, well prepared to do the right thing if that comes about. And my mom's experience has helped me so much in my career now. I have such a soft spot for the unhoused, especially if they have pets, obviously. And I have such a soft spot for people who have the same struggles as my mom. So where I can't directly empathize with her and her situation because I'm very disconnected, I'm very attached and empathetic to people who are experiencing the same thing that she did. So.
Totally. And I like what you said about finding compassion. There's so many people, obviously, being in recovery myself and working with a varied population of people in recovery, like those parent wounds are always so notable. And something that I heard that always devastates me is, like, picture sitting down with your parent when they're 10 years old, them telling you all of their hopes and dreams, and then seeing how their life is now. And, like, the amount of that, like, makes me cry every time I think about it, like that. Yeah, we're all doing the best that we can with what we have. But with that parent wound, a lot of times that turns into chaotic relationships. And I saw that was something for you that happened, but it's also where your first dog came out of too.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's the same with my dad too. We are estranged. He has he's textbook narcissistic personality disorder, sociopath. And that's a huge source of my trauma as well. But, like, being in this field and working with the population that I work with, I can disconnect from that, and I can look and I can say, he grew up in a horrific household that was so abusive, and the amount of trauma that he went through as a child, that was his coping mechanism. Like, that is how he learned how to survive. And so It sucked for me being his kid, but like, I get it. I get it. I can empathize with it. And I realize that there's a reason why. And like, all I can do better is stop the narrative, right? And try to be a better mom and try to do things a little bit different for my kid than they did for me.
Totally. And so when you got into, I want to talk about your first dog because I I think there's such a soft spot for that first pet that you get that is like your anchor and your sticking point through so many different traumas. And you've talked about how I loved in your story when it was written out on the SPCA website, it talked about like all of these different events happening and that your dog was there and like they saw you through this. And so I was wondering if you could talk about that relationship with your dog a little bit.
Well, I might cry. I'm already like crying. Yeah, you mentioned Oscar, and like immediately I start to cry because he was a dog that I got when I had just graduated high school and I had just gone out on my own. And I was living with this boyfriend who was really toxic down in Huntington Beach, and we decided to get a puppy together. And like this dog just, I fell so hardcore in love with this dog that it was like a feeling or a love that I have never ever been able to explain in my whole life. It was like unconditional love, and he was there, and he was like living in my car with me at one point. And I loved this dog so much that I went and got a job at a veterinary clinic as a receptionist. So I just like, I had been so preoccupied in my childhood and all of that, and there were dogs around, and but there was something about Oscar that just made me want to like, I wanted to do this for a living. I wanted to be in veterinary medicine. I wanted to be surrounded by dogs, and he kind of awakened that passion in me. But aside from that, I had him for 16 and a half years, and so I had him all throughout my addiction. I was an alcoholic that entire time. And there were times when it was better and times when it was worse, but he just held no judgment. There were days where I left him out in the car for like 10 hours while I went in and drank at the bar, and I'd go out and I'd let him for a potty, and then the drunk people would come out and say hi. But like, I was a terrible dog mom and I loved him so much. But he saved my life on numerous occasions. I can remember one night I had been up, partying, doing drugs and with my ex. And I had him in the car. I worked at a shelter at the time, and so I could take him to work. And I had him in the car, and it was the morning, and I was driving to work, and I had been up all night, and I just didn't want to live anymore. And I saw a tree, and I had that thought, like, I'm going to turn the wheel. And Oscar was right there. And it wasn't about me at that point. Like, I literally couldn't do that to my dog. And like, he would sit with me after I got, beat up the night before. And he would sit with me and lay with me. And that got me through. So, yeah, he was really special. And he never got to see me sober. So now I definitely try to be a really good dog mom to the dogs that I have now, and be really present and go to the lake and throw the stick and take them every, as best as I can. And like, aside from being a good dog mom, right? Like, I try to be a good mom to my human child too. And so he sure was special. That's for sure. And I know that so many people that are in active addiction have relationships with dogs like Oscar, who that dog has gotten them through. And I hear it from domestic violence cases all of the time, how the dogs have literally saved their life in an abusive situation. I've had dogs that have woken owners up when they overdose. Like, you name it, I've heard every single story out there about why dogs are so important to people who are struggling, and that's what Oscar was for me.
Totally. And pets, like, a lot of times they can be someone's first secure attachment that they've ever had in their lives. Yeah, and that is immense, and it's also the idea, like, having your pet. I'm a cat person personally, but I have a cat that's like this for me, where it's when we think we're so bad and we're doing all of these things, but this little animal still loves me so much, I must not be that bad.
Yeah.
Like, and yeah, living for them. Cause I know when I was super anorexic, I would think about killing myself. And with my cat, I would think about, cause he's so codependent, I think about him like wandering around the house looking for me and me not being there. And that was like too much to bear.
Too much. Yeah.
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 Oh my God. Yeah. Pets are so amazing. Obviously, for people in early recovery, I'm like, give it a second. I like the idea where it's like, get a plant, keep it alive, get a pet, and then like get a relationship. But yeah,
Wow.
it has innumerable benefits. And I gasped out loud when I was reading your story because it was like, got out of the relationship after having a daughter, then got cancer. And I was like, I was like, I did so much at one time. Like, that's so much. How,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it was like, all through my addiction, it was like, how many hits can keep coming?
Mm,
Like, how many hits can I take? It's like, I mean, over and over and over and over again. And like, I just like got back up, it was like, I don't
yeah.
know how many more hits I could take. And it's really funny because in that time I was thinking like, I had that whole victim mentality, like, why does all of this crazy stuff
Mhm.
keep happening to me? Like why do I just get the shit end of the stick all the time? Like I keep getting beat up and beat up and beat up. And it wasn't until I got sober that like things started to even out and mellow out, and like things happen now, like I broke down on the side of the road the other day, but like I was fully capable of handling that situation, and
Mhm.
it wasn't a big deal. And like I don't know what that is. Like, I feel like it's an energy shift. Like, you get back what you're putting out in the world. And what I was putting out was sick. It was depressed. It was gross energy. And that's what I was getting back tenfold. Um, and so it's really amazing how once you stop the madness, everything kind of just falls into place. At least that's how it happened for me.
Yeah.
And shit still happens all the time, but I don't feel like it's being handed directly to me. Like it's all things that I'm fully capable of handling and getting through.
Yeah, life stays lifey in sobriety. We just get better at dealing with it. And it's the perspective shift too. I was talking about this with someone recently where it's like I would never consider myself lucky, like so many bad things happened. But looking back at how miraculous surviving a lot of those bad things was, I was like, oh, maybe I am lucky. And that changed like a big perspective shift for me. It was no longer like, woe is me. It was like, wow, I can do anything.
Yeah, because really we should have died like multiple times.
Yeah.
I put myself in some pretty sketchy situations. Like I should not be here. And
Mhm.
towards the end, my health problems were crazy. I had gotten diagnosed with thyroid cancer, which like if you're gonna get the big C word, you want to
Yeah.
get thyroid cancer, right? It's like it's pretty easy. But dealt with that. And then as an alcoholic, you're not taking care of yourself. And so I didn't have a thyroid. And so all of my systems were out of whack. And I was drinking so much that like I had fatty liver, my cholesterol was through the roof. I mean, my face was just like a pumpkin.
Mhm.
I was swollen. I was sick. I was sick for many, many, many years. I would say over a decade. I was very, very sick. Waking up in the middle of the night to be sick until I could wake up in the morning and start drinking again. It was awful. But my health was just terrible towards the end, and I decided to stop drinking around like Christmas time, and I lasted a month, and then I went to a wedding, and I completely just I drank, and I was right back to where was that month before. And so that was like the big thing for me where I was like, I don't think I can really do this on my own. And so that's when I went to an intensive outpatient program because I had my daughter and my pets and all of that kind of stuff. So that's what worked for me. And I was just so lucky that I landed at the right place to take care of me. And like all it was therapy. That's all I started doing
Mhm.
was therapy and group therapy. And I'm always like amazed at how I got better by literally just sitting down and telling somebody my story. That's all it was. I just had to sit down and let it all out. But like that was it.
That's so funny. Oh, I hear the dogs now. But yeah,
Yes.
that's so funny. And that's sometimes it's just finding your community and knowing that you're not alone in this anymore. And I also think it's a trademark classic alcoholic move to be like, well, I'm going to try it by myself first. We always have to do it first by ourselves. That
Yeah.
never works.
Yeah. Over and over and over again. I mean, I knew that I needed to get sober since I was like a teenager. I knew I had a problem since then,
Mm-hmm.
but I always thought I was strong enough to do it on my own.
Mm-hmm. Like I'm too smart for this. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hi everyone, Pat McCarthy here. Managing withdrawal symptoms no longer means leaving home. Mountainside's new outpatient withdrawal program provides confidential professional support with daily check-ins from our psychiatric and clinical team. It's designed for your busy life, so you could heal without disruption. Find out more at mountainside.com.
And how is it? So now you live in Colorado, you've got your daughter, you've got your 3 dogs. What is it like seeing your daughter like come to love pets and have a relationship like that with them?
Oh, it's amazing. She works at a doggy daycare.
Oh,
So
that's so
I
funny.
know about that. Okay, so my daughter helped me start this program, Positive
Okay.
Recovery. We started this nonprofit in Denver, and at the very beginning, it was like we were in the trenches. We had a cat room upstairs with multiple cats in it. We had about 10 dogs at one time here. It was gnarly. It was crazy. And she helped me every day take care of the animals. And so like I credit a lot of the success of this program to her, because she literally helped me clean up shit and piss for
Yeah. And so was this always an SPCA program, or was this you started this up and then they just jumped on board at a certain point?
It's such a cool story how that happened. I was telling you before that I love to travel to third world countries and do spay and neuter campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
It's a way that I can still do like some veterinary medicine stuff while running the nonprofit. And so, yeah, we started the nonprofit here in Denver, and I ran it on my own for a couple of years. I sold my home in California to support myself while I started the nonprofit, because I wasn't taking a salary for 3 years.
Wow.
But I went on a trip to Cuba to do a spay and neuter campaign. And that spay and neuter campaign was sponsored by SPCA International. And on that trip was a lady, her name is Lori, and she is probably one of the most amazing humans I've ever met in my life. But she is also the director of programs for SPCA International. And so her and I got to know each other on that trip. And I was telling her what I was doing here in Denver and about this little program that I had started up. And she was like, oh, tell me more. You know, it was interesting to her. I think that as an organization, SPCA International really looks at the human side of animal welfare as well. Not a lot of the bigger animal welfare organizations do that. They're strictly focused on the animals. And this organization really looks at that human animal bond. And our programs are very, very, centered around the human aspect. And so that's how we met. It was very like universal.
Yeah.
God put us both together on that trip. And then they gave us a grant to support the program, and then just started talking to us a little bit more. And they called and said, we'd really like to bring Positive Recovery into the organization as one of our major programs. So I said yes.
Yeah,
And
of course.
that was almost 2 years ago, and it's really been an amazing trip so far. We have obviously a lot more resources than we did before. We have the ability to take this program nationally now, which is such an important thing. That is the goal right now, is to open a Positive Recovery up in many different cities in the US, because it's such a massive problem. Like, there are very little crisis fostering organizations. There are more and more popping up, which is amazing. And as an organization, I really hope that we can pave the way for other people who are interested in starting this work in their own areas to do it, because we could save so many more lives if we could just get them into treatment by watching their animals. It's so simple, but it's huge need.
That makes the story so much cooler, knowing that this was something that you started out like by yourself, that you just felt a calling to do, and then serendipitously the SPCA got involved. That's so cool.
Yeah. And even better part of that story is it actually wasn't my idea. It was my therapist's idea, because I was sitting in a therapy session with her and I was like, I really just wish that I could mix dogs and recovery, because those are the things that I'm most passionate about. And she was like, I actually think that you can. And I was like, she's like, there's resources for people who want to get help. And I was like, I never would have thought of that.
Totally. And I see you do it for domestic abuse, situations with domestic abuse, as well as situations with substance abuse.
Yeah, that's correct. We sort of stay in our mental health lane. And that's really it. But what we find is in domestic violence, there's usually substance abuse. In substance abuse, there's often domestic violence. So there's a lot of intersectionality and all of that. And so that's the group of people that we help.
Totally. And so you guys are right now, you're in Colorado. And I think when I met you at the Mountainside event in the city, you said you guys are operating in New York City as well. Where do you want to go next?
Well, we launched pilot programs both in New York with Mountainside and also in Portland. We have a really cool, we have a really cool organization out there called the Blanchet House. And they have a recovery farm. And so we are currently working with them to start a program out there. There is so much need, obviously, in the Pacific Northwest. But also people are really, really eager to be a part of the solution in that area as well. And so it seems like just the next logical best place to expand. So those are our two pilot programs. We're still sort of waiting on some funding that will allow us to take this more national. So it's a slow process, but we're doing it and learning as we go. And so I hope our goal is to open up a new positive recovery chapter in a different area every year. So I hope that it will be a much bigger program in 5-10 years, and we have the ability to help a lot more folks.
Totally. And anyone that's watching this, go to their website and watch the video that they have explaining the program, because there are a bunch of clips of owners reuniting with their dogs after treatment or whatever situation they're in. And that's a good one if you want to cry. That's like what most of my Instagram feed is, because my Instagram feed knows I love misery. So it's a lot of like stuff like that where it's like, yeah, you're going to cry. And I see you guys do workshops, and under workshops, I saw there was a kitten meditation, which I can't imagine is super meditative, because they don't really let you do that. They just kind of like bite your feet. So,
yeah, I mean, it kind of depends on the group of cats that we get. Yeah, so we do workshops. There's an 8-week series that we do. We go into the rehabs, we go into the facilities. We take animals. Sometimes we take our fosters. Sometimes we take therapy dogs. Sometimes we take our own dogs. And we take them in to brighten everybody's day. It's everybody's favorite class at every rehab. But we do a class called Sit, Stay, Heal, where we train the dogs, but we relate it all back to recovery principles, like sitting with your feelings, staying where you're at, like one day at a time, and then healing, obviously healing from trauma and things like that. So that's a fun class. And then, we've got Zen kitten meditation. We've got downward dog yoga. And sometimes we just go with the flow and see what the group wants for the day. I really think that there is a huge place in the clinical setting for animals and specifically dogs. I think that in like some of the really high trauma cases that we deal with, just simply having a dog present is amazing. and helpful. I don't even think that they need to serve really a purpose, but just being there sometimes helps in those situations. So I'd like to see our workshop program expand as well into that realm. I think that dogs are so healing, and I think that there's so many ways that we can incorporate animal-based therapy into recovery.
Totally. Yeah, there's so much validity to that. And that's something we don't have a lot of. I know New York City, Chelsea does a lot of animal programs. We don't necessarily do it here. And that's always like an ask for clients. There's a cat sanctuary in town. We have a lot of like our extended care clients will go to spend time at. But it is so healing. Like when I'm in therapy, when I do it therapy virtually in my home life, and I have like my cat on my lap and my dog at my side, I'm like, I'm fine. This is okay.
Yep.
I'm not alone in anything.
Yep. It's so true. And I mean, animals boost our oxytocin. They give us all the feel goods. There's so many reasons why they're beneficial in what we're doing, especially in early recovery.
Mm-hmm. And they force you to like move a muscle, change a thought. Like, I don't want to get out of bed because I'm depressed. Too bad. I have to give my cat his epilepsy medication. Like it's high stakes. I have to.
Yep.
Or like going for a walk, like taking my dog out, it forces me to get outside, and then inevitably I feel better.
Yep. You got it.
And so I see you guys also have a lot of volunteer opportunities. How do people get involved if they want to get involved with you guys?
Yeah, we have so many volunteer opportunities. It's so easy to get involved. We have a volunteer page on our website. So if you go to spcai.org and you go to our work, the positive recovery tab, there's an area that says volunteer for us, and it's super easy to just fill out the application. And if you want to get involved, somebody will be in touch with you right away. Our website's also a really great place to find our donation page. We are 100% supported by generous donors. So anything program related, you can find right on our website.
And what kind of stuff do volunteers do?
Well, it depends. It depends on where they are. If they're in Denver, then we have a lot more hands-on opportunities. But on a national scale, we do need help with some admin stuff, some outreach stuff, a lot of things like that. So it really just depends on where people are located and other factors as well. But there's always a way to get involved for sure, no matter where you are.
That's even like if I'm an AA person, and service is like a massive part of not just AA, but like getting sober in general. And so volunteer work is also a great way to do that, because it's like doing esteemable actions to feel better about yourself.
Definitely. And that's another thing that we can help with in another part of our program. We establish relationships with people who want to give service and give back in animal shelters. So we have a lot of partnerships nationwide with those folks. So if anybody in recovery wants to work hands-on with animals and they want to volunteer at a shelter, get involved, do donations, anything like that, we can point them in the right direction and help with those relationships.
That's sweet. That's cool, because a lot of times it's like, I know I've thought about doing stuff like that, and then I'm like, how do I get involved? And I don't want to Google, so I just move on. So it's nice to know there's like an accessible way to figure that out.
Definitely.
And how often are you still doing the international like spay and neuter clinics?
Well, it sort of depends on how busy I am with the program, and I've been very busy lately. I try to get 4 trips in a year, but this past year it'll probably be 2. I went to St. Thomas and did one, and I'm hoping to go back to Suriname later this year, but we'll see. It all depends on how much time I have on my hands, which is not very much.
If you had like you had a plane at your disposal and the resources, where would you want to go? Like, do you have any like dream locations you want to hit to do service work there?
Yeah, I want to go to Thailand for sure.
Ooh.
It is a big one that I want to go to. And also Greece is another one. Those are my 2 big ones. But if I had my way and a private plane, like you said, I would go. I would go everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Since I have gotten sober, I have gotten bit by the travel bug so big. I've gotten to see so many amazing countries and meet so many amazing people through this work. And I just want to travel and travel and travel. And I
Yeah,
never would have been able to if I didn't get sober. It was always something that I really wanted to do and I couldn't do it. And now I can. And that's what sobriety has given me is all of these opportunities.
totally. Yeah, that's a lot of this stuff. Sobriety makes our world so much bigger than just being stuck in like these unhealthy relationships, like unhealthy spaces. It,
Yeah.
it opens up the world to us, and travel does that. Like, I know after when I went on a trip out of the country, I got back and I was like, I'm re-enrolling at school, and I went back to school because I was like, the world's just big. Like, there's so much stuff to do and so much
Yeah.
possibility.
And I feel like I lost out on so much precious time.
Hmm.
So I have a lot to make up for and a lot to do.
Sweet. All right. Well, thank you for being here today. I'm really excited about this program. I think it's incredibly cool, and I love the person-centered approach because to like handle and to be able to like fix a lot of the animal issues in the world in terms of like abuse or like not needing fosters, like you need people to be a part of that equation.
Yep. They are the biggest part of the equation, and all it takes is a little bit of education and patience and advocacy on the human side too.
Totally. All right. Well, thank you for being here. It's been a pleasure. If you want to see any of the SPCA's work, the Positive Recovery's work, we'll have all of Serena's organization's information in the bio. And yeah, check us out the next time we're up. All right.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, Mountainside can help. Call 860-365-6764 to speak with our caring treatment team.